So we're going to do a info session today on Cohort 6 and the application, but I'm going to start by talking about the CU. I think we're about like 50% people who are familiar with what we do here, and then maybe 50 not. So we'll talk about the Cedars Union, what we do, just blanket terms, talk about the cohort, and then we'll talk about the application process. And then I also have two of the current cohort members that talk about their experience in the cohort as well. But before we do that, my name is Taylor. I'm the manager of programming here at the Cedars Union. So I manage all of our standardized educational and public programming. That can be our workshops, our lectures, our demos, things like that. But in addition to that, I also manage the cohort program. So on the chance that you get accepted, I would be the person that you'd be in contact with during your residency period. I'm going to share my screen. And then Danielle is also here. Sorry, Danielle. Danielle is the manager or director of operations. I'll let her tell y'all what she does while I share my screen.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for being here. As Taylor said, I'm the Director of Operations at the Cedars Union. I do everything from keeping the lights on to helping Taylor plan our larger events and assist in artist communications. So I'm sure all of you all who are members have had an email or two from me in the past.
Mhm. And then we'll have time at the end for a Q&A. So if you have questions about the Cedars Union as a whole, we can talk about that. And then you'll also have time to ask the two cohort artists that have joining us questions about their experience. But if you haven't been to the Cedars Union before, we are located in the Cedars neighborhood, not too far from downtown Dallas. This is the building that we currently reside in. It is called the Annex. May have driven past it before, but we've been in the Annex since I believe 2017, and it's where we have the residency. It's where we have our facilities. It's where we host our programming, and it's just kind of where we live. The Cedars Union is an kind of a middle point between a makerspace and a community center is what I normally say. So if you're looking for a space to be an artist or be around artists, make art, it is an excellent space for that. For our community members, it's a really good space to sit down, work at a table, create some artwork, but also get connected with Dallas as an arts community. So if you're new to the area or you're at a point in your career where you feel like you need to move to the next stage and get better connected to the community, it is an excellent place to do that. Because the goal of the Cedars Union, in short, is to advance the arts in North Texas and to support our artists so that they stay in the area and make Dallas a place where the arts can thrive. Here's our building, the Annex. I'm going to quickly go through all of our facilities. If you've been here before, you've seen these, and they look a little different today. So something like our meeting room, this is a space that would be our flexible, I usually say clean co-working space. So if you have a meeting with a gallerist, say you work out of your home primarily, you paint on an easel or your kitchen table, but you don't want to bring a gallerist into your home, this is an excellent space to set up. It's really professional, it's clean. You can bring people from the public in to look at your work, and it keeps them from coming into your house and creating like a weird experience there. It's also a space where people can just sit down and work, be at their computer. This is where CU staff work during the day. So if you ever come in and you see us all huddled at our laptops, you can kick us out. It's a space for the artists to use. But overall, just a clean co-working space is what I say. It's typically where we host our monthly lecture series as well as our critique, because we have the homosot walls, which you can see with these three pieces posted up in the back. This is where people can hang their work to document it if you want to just put it up on the wall and see what it looks like. But when we do critique, we're able to pin up work pretty easily. And then this room can sit about 30 people, which is about how many people we usually have for our monthly lecture series. Next, in the back of the building is our wood shop. It's our most robust space. If you've used the wood shop before, there's not really much to say in terms of what it does. It's used for making framing stretchers. I teach framing workshops in here. We do a wood shop orientation every month. So if you want to get your hands dirty, start making some of your materials yourself, or just need a place to assemble things, it's really good for that. Has a wide assortment of hand tools. We also have all of the power tools that you would need to turn raw wood into usable lumber, and then a lot of scrap wood, which we need people to use because we have too much of it. We have two computer labs. I'm in the PC lab right now. This is our where our PC desktop computer lives, and it also has the Adobe suite as well as AutoCAD and 3D modeling software that works in tandem with our 3D printers, which I'm wedged between right now. We also have a vinyl plotter. We have a large format printer, plotter, a small flatbed scanner, and a Wacom tablet. But these are pretty standard computer labs. If you need a place to edit your documentation, maybe hold a meeting, or if you need to just work on the 3D printers or the vinyl plotter, they're really good spaces for that. All of our facilities, there is at least one person on staff who knows how to operate any of the machinery. So if you ever become a member of the community or you want to start using something like a 3D printer, like maybe you don't normally use that, there's somebody on staff who can give you a hand with it. And then the Fab Lab. The Fab Lab is our other co-working space. That doorway in the back of this image that you see is the meeting room that I showed y'all earlier. If the meeting room is our clean co-working space, the Fab Lab would be our dirty co-working space. So it has tables, it has easels. It's just a space for artists to work. You can reserve a single table, a single easel, or you can reserve the entire room if you want to do something like a photo shoot. It's just a space for you to put your stuff down, make a mess, as long as you clean it up. It also has our two Juki industrial sewing machines, and then it has our printmaking equipment, a multi-material cutter, a Riso printer. Again, this photo is out of date. This room has gotten to be pretty packed in terms of storage, working space for the artists, and facilities. It also isn't pictured in here, but if this is where most of our facilities are stored, I typically like to mention that we also have a kiln for ceramics. We have a pottery wheel, some working space in the Bodecker, which I'll talk about in just a second. And then we also have a welding machine as well as some larger co-working space. So if you have a really big project, you can move next door into the Bodecker where some of those facilities are. And Danielle, if you think of anything, please just interrupt me. So this is a Bodecker. If you see that little orange rectangle in the bottom left corner, above where it says the Bodecker, that is the annex. That's where we're at right now. Um, Bodecker is right next door. It's a historic building. It is the future home of the Cedars Union. We're currently at 7,000 square feet. This building is 43,000 square feet. So we currently use it as a co-working space for artists. You may have seen that we've been hosting exhibitions out of it too. So it's another project space. If you're working on something where you either need more room to work on something larger, or if you're looking for a space to try something new that you just kind of can't, put down and pick up in a day, it's a really good place for that. And then in terms of it being a curatorial space, programming all of the unique little rooms inside of it has been really fun, but it has a lot of really unique architecture. I don't have photos of all of it in here, but you can see it on our social media, that people can do exhibitions in and respond to the space without the limitations of a typical gallery space. This is how sometimes the space may be activated. This is the main hall on the first floor. Right now, we're doing a partnership with Dead White Zombies, which is pretty immersive with a lot of lighting and a lot of video equipment up. But the space is flexible, it's raw, it's an industrial warehouse. There's a lot to respond to, there's a lot to play with. There are, of course, weird caveats with working in a space like that, but it is a really charming, interesting space. So those are all of our facilities. In terms of programming, we host about 8 monthly programs. We have programs that I usually will call resource-based, and then we have educational-based programs. I'll go into all of those in a second, but when I talk about things like educational, those are typically hands-on like learning opportunities to do something that can expand your artistic practice. Something like critique is pretty good at that. If you've been looking at feedback or to get feedback about your work, say you're either stuck or you're at a really important point in your practice where things are about to change and you would like to hear what other people think about it or get their feedback, our monthly critique program is really good for that. During which I usually have a member of the public, usually an artist, an arts professional in general, like a gallerist or an art advisor or just a educator of some sort come in, and then that person will give their feedback to the work, as well as our other community of artists who are also there to offer their feedback. I try to make sure that these are people who are active, who maybe aren't normally in our community, so you get fresh perspective, but Oftentimes they are a working artist, so it's really nice to hear the perspective of somebody who works in a different medium. We also do workshops and demos. So if you're looking to expand your practice and learn new ways to make work, our workshops are really good for that. A lot of the dates, and these are past programs that I'm showing right now, but our next 2 months are always on our website. So if you want to check out what we have coming up, you can look there. But something like stained glass or rug tufting, I tend to find programs that are more hands-on that tend to be a bit more niche, so that if you're looking to try a new practice that you don't have access to elsewhere, that you could have the opportunity. And it's our goal that normally after the workshop is finished, we have the facilities to continue doing it. So we have rug tufting equipment, we have some soldering equipment for stained glass. We also have the kilns to do kiln forming. So these are always free to our members. All programs are. Active CU members and cohort don't have to pay for them. But you do get at least one of these every month if you're interested in learning a new skill. And then we have our lectures. So if the workshop is a hands-on opportunity to maybe learn how to make your work in a different way or translate your work, our lectures tend to be a little bit more geared towards the administrative side of your art as a business. If you want to learn how to do something like network with a gallerist, we have done lectures like gallery practices with Erin Cluley, where she talked about how she started her gallery, how she vets gal or artists who show in her space, how she meets people, what the process looks like. We've also done stuff like mural basics with Ray Alvarez and Alec and Shana De Jesus, where they talked about their practice as working artists, but also how they manage being freelance artists working in the mural world. Ray is a graffiti artist, and then Alec primarily does murals. So that's a very different type of experience doing a very similar thing. So it was a really good experience to hear like their two perspectives. While Shana talked about how she manages contracts and does the behind the scenes stuff for them. We also do festivals and large events. This is a photo from Heavy Ink, which was a printmaking festival we did. It had a lot of opportunities to make work, learn something, have a bite, get some drinks, hang out with people. Just good community events to get involved and meet people. And then we also do I mentioned resource-based programs. Those can be things like photo doc sessions, where you can have your work professionally documented and get those photos at the end of the session. Office hours with financial professional Curtis Tron. Curtis will set up shop here once a month and he'll talk to people about their art as a business. During that, you can set up an LLC. He'll talk to you about taxes, anything that covers the management side of your business as art. And then we also have a new program, which is grant writing office hours with Julie Copolis, where she'll set up shop here. And if you're applying to a new opportunity, say a residency, a grant, anything like that, or an exhibition, she can look over your materials to make sure that they're as sharp as possible and geared towards the opportunity that you are applying to. These are all free for members. Programs like these professional services are not open to the public, so they're just an extra perk that our members get access to. We also do exhibitions. We do a yearly all members exhibition where anyone in our community can submit and they get at least one piece included. That exhibition will typically happen at different venues in Dallas. We've done it on site at the Cedars Union in the Bodecker. Last year we did it. It was a show in the Bow. This year it's going to be at the Oak Cliff Cultural Center. But then in addition, the cohort also have their own exhibition opportunities. And this is from a trade exhibition that we did with an organization in Austin called a COSA Collective, where we brought all of the cohorts work down and we had an exhibition there, and it was pretty dope. And that's programming in short. There are a lot of different programs. We have pop-up programs, partner programs, demos. Sometimes a member will host a program and share it with the community if they want to invite them. But those are the standardized ones that we typically do month to month that you can usually find on our website. Another type of program we have is the cohort, which is why we're all here. The cohort is a community incubator. It is an opportunity to have studio space in the middle of Dallas, but also get connected with a community of artists who are all like-minded and in a similar pursuit. of advancing their career and getting connected with Dallas. This is a photo of Cohort 5 on orientation day. Cohort 5 is currently in incubation. They have about 2 months left. I'll talk more about like dates and stuff in a minute, but I'll just kind of flip through and talk more about what you get access to as a member of the cohort. The easiest thing is you get access to subsidized studio rate. Each cohort artist gets their own micro studio, and then they will all move in at the exact same time, and then they will move out together. So we're in the current iteration of the cohort 5. I mean, so we've been through four previous ones where they've all shared that space for 18 months and then left to make room for the next cohort. Over the course of the cohort program, they typically get pretty close. They're able to collaborate, share their resources, share their skills, their experience. Many of the cohort members come from varied backgrounds. Some of them work in education, some of them work in the gallery world, some of them have MFAs, some of them have never been to art school. Some of them took a break from their career and are getting back into it. Some of them are just at the beginning of it. So it's a really unique leveling ground where people can bring all of the tools, all of the skills, all the things that they've learned to the same space and trade them off between one another in an attempt to kind of build the community together. It's a juried opportunity. So something that's important to say is that staff like Danielle and I, we have no say in who gets into the cohort. Instead, we put together a jury of arts professionals from the DFW area. This year we have Emily Budd, who teaches at SMU, Thomas Fulmer from the Warehouse, Christina Hahn, who was a member of the cohort. We always have a previous cohort member on the jury, Adeo Matosho from the DMA, and Hava Silky Jones from Dallas College. These tend to be people who are actively committed to Dallas as an arts ecosystem, people who are in the community going to exhibitions, who have an idea of what Dallas should look like in terms of the work that's being made and the people who are making it. And it's to make sure that we have a varied opinion on the people who are applying. So some of these people, again, some are artists, some are not. Some are educators, some are administrators. So we get a very even assessment of the applicants that come through whenever we put our jury together and allow them to use their own experiences and skills to select the artists. This is the studio hall. The studio hall is where the cohort live. This is where all the studios are. You can see that they are built on this V1 system, which is like a pegboard system. The studios can be broken down and put back up in whatever order they need to. People have different needs in terms of like studio space. This is what one of the studios looks like on its own in a little maquette. With Cohort 6, what we're doing is we have two sizes of studios. We have a medium one, which is roughly 64 square feet. And then we have a large studio. And depending on the way that it shakes out after people have been accepted, we may have room for people to get a slightly larger studio depending on how things fit. But just know for now that right now the two sizes that we're working with are 8 by 8 and 8 by 16, and they're offered at $1.60 per square foot. I'll skip forward just a tiny bit because it's a good way to see how people utilize the space. Some artists are really messy, some are not. Some kind of treat it as a really clean office space, and then some of them just go in there and wreak havoc, which is perfectly okay. Uh, this is how artists in cohort 3, I believe, use the space. You can see some of them will install their work, some of them just need a very quiet, organized workspace to put their head down and get some work done. And then some of them, again, the one on the right is way tidier than others. So, but it is a space for the artist to make their own. Typically with the V1 system, by the end of it, they're kind of spilling over the edges. They've made it completely whatever they need in terms of space. And because all of the furniture is modular, they can move it around to fit the needs of their practice at the time. Well, looks like we have 10 minutes left on this meeting for Zoom. So it might butt us out. I'm going to have us join back on, okay? Um, when you become a member of the cohort, you get access to secondary programming. We also do speed critique sessions. One of those will be with the jury, where you get to meet with them and share your practice upon move-in. And then we do another one with the gallerists and DFW. When that happens, you get to sit down with them, pick your priority juror, and then you can have a conversation with them about your work. We also have paid opportunities to lead CU programming. We have pro bono resources, and then there is a donor base of people who support us and the arts in DFW who come through the space. And whenever they do that, sometimes they find an artist that they like, and they'll use it as an opportunity to either acquire their work or put them in touch with people who may be interested in acquiring their work. Okay. So I have two cohort artists in here. Before they start talking, I'm going to close the meeting and I'm going to start it again. So if y'all want to join through the link, hopefully that does a good job of fixing the issue. So I will see you all in 5 more seconds.
It just it allows you to meet some people that you would have never come across otherwise. And so I'm happy to answer, any of the questions that you guys have regarding the cohort. I'm very excited to be here. I'm gonna hate it in 2 months when they kick us out, but it is what it is. That leaves room for y'all. And I'm gonna hand it over to Catherine to give her input as well.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I started as a community member. I was just looking for a space to paint that was outside of my house. So that's originally why I joined as a community member, and then I learned about the cohort program. I sat out the first year because I didn't feel like my work was at a super strong place yet. And so I watched the end of cohort three, cohort four, and now I'm part of cohort five come through. For me, it's been really beneficial in a place where I didn't realize that was like something that I would get out of it, which is building a community. I'm a self-taught artist. I'm now an oil painter, but I started as an acrylic painter. There's a couple of other painters in the studio as well that kind of convinced me to go into oil paint. I also used to paint around the 24 by 38 inch range, and I just finished a piece a couple of months ago that was 8 by 8 feet because I had the space. Um, and yeah, I think and also I'm now working on some like sculptural stuff. So it's been really helpful. There's actually a lot of professors in this cohort, and that's pretty helpful as a self-taught artist to get a lot of different perspectives that I wouldn't normally get. And let's see, I think something really important to keep in mind is how often you see yourself being in the studio. I think that you get as much as you put into the program. They offer a lot of resources and stuff on site and otherwise, but I think that the more often that you're here, the more often that you're engaged in the community, the more that you're going to get back from it. But I love the Cedars Union, and we also just got matching tattoos.
We did,
So,
yes.
yeah.
So it's awesome. We love it here. And also just to piggyback off of what Catherine was saying about like the utilization of your space. Taylor, I don't know if you mentioned this, but in the cohort, you actually do have 24-hour access to the studio space. And so I am one of there's a few of us that come in super early. I'm one of the people that come in super late. So I leave 2 o'clock in the morning. Some people leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But the good thing about, the access is that you can do that. And I mean, I just think that's one of the most valuable aspects of it as well. So, yeah.
We have a few minutes for people to ask questions. So if y'all want to type your question into the chat, just because over the mic it may get complicated, I can read them to the cohort. While I wait for a question or two to come in, Kev and Catherine, were there any ways that you saw your work or your artistic practice like as a career change during the cohort?
Yeah. Um, I would say that, I came in telling myself that I wanted to do things that were way more outside of the box than what I was originally doing and things that were bigger. And I was able to check both of those boxes. I guess to more so answer your question, I have been able to just participate in a lot of different gallery opportunities and things of that nature just because we have had access to them. There's some things that I didn't previously know about that because I'm in this cohort with to Catherine's point, a lot of these professors and even the staff, they will tell you about some of the opportunities that you have kind of available and that are in front of you. And so you can have that knowledge to be able to take that and to apply. And obviously, the more exhibition opportunities you get, the more opportunities you get just as an artist because you're gaining a little bit more visibility. And so when I came in, I didn't have that visibility. But, within my 16 months of being here, I've increased my visibility by, I feel like, fivefold. So it's been kind of one of the craziest experiences that I've witnessed. I feel like sometimes my head's on a swivel because things are moving so quickly. But that's exactly what you want. And I just remember one of the interview questions. Sorry if I'm giving out too much here, Taylor and Danielle, but one of the interview questions that they asked me was, what do you want from this program? And I told them that I did not know. I think that, and I stand by that. I think that art is one of those things in which like you should let the art take you to places, and you should let the art lead you to those different opportunities. And I think that the Cedars Union has done a really good job at allowing me to freely choose the path in which like I want as an artist, which may not be super traditional, and that's okay because it's up to you. But the fact of the matter is that you have an option here to do that. So yeah, Catherine.
Yeah, I've heard the Cedars Union be described as a really great post-grad place. As a self-taught artist, I feel like it also works in the sense that the art world is a very confusing place where it helps to be a part of or like have an anchor in some corner of it. So for me, that's been kind of the biggest thing was like having, first of all, staff members that I can ask questions because there's also with not knowing what is what or like what spaces are what, who these people are, like what the roadmap is. There's a lot of pitfalls and places where people try to scam artists or it's good to have people in your corner and be able to navigate the art world with a designated space, a designated like community. I don't remember what the original question was, but that was on my mind. So.
I have a couple questions for you guys, and some of these questions I'm going to save for the Q&A port on the application process towards the end, but I'll ask, how did y'all both know you were ready to apply, and was there anything that prevented you from applying earlier?
Yeah, the first time I did it, I just saw it online and I was like, yeah, sure, like I'll apply. Obviously, my portfolio wasn't strong enough. I did not get in. So, that being said, when you're applying for this, and to Taylor's point, to Danielle's point, this is a juried kind of application, and so the first round of people that see your art might not necessarily it may not be that they don't like your art, but it may just be like your artwork is not for them. But that doesn't mean that you should necessarily like refrain from applying that following year. This is kind of one of those things in which like you kind of have to pick yourself up, try again. And that was exactly what I did the second year. I didn't know if I was ready the second year, but it's all about putting yourself out there, trusting yourself artistically, and really kind of just like going for what you want. And I just so happened to want this. And so I applied again. I saw Danielle's email. It went to my spam at first. Good thing I checked that. Uh, and I just went ahead and applied and, went through the whole motion of kind of going through everything. And I landed a spot. So please, like, as you're going through this, take that with a grain of salt. Like, please, if first time you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, originally I was just interested in the space. So, Matt, whenever he gave me the tour, told me about the cohort program that was going to be opening up, and I didn't really think much of it. And then I kind of started to consider it, and I was thinking I would apply, but at that point I was kind of selling work to where I didn't really have a whole body of work, and I really wanted to have like an extensive inventory by the time that I got here. And I just felt that my work was like underdeveloped, and I saw how well other artists did in the last cohort with like the exposure and stuff. So while I did know that I was gonna want to like experiment while I was here, I didn't want to be spending too much of my time just trying to build up my inventory when I knew that there was going to be a lot of opportunity to be able to show my work and like network and kind of like build a name for myself. So I wanted to feel like I was at a place where I felt good with my work and I wouldn't just be like, by the end of the cohort, okay, now I have a full body of work, so.
This is also an incubation space. Like the goal is to grow you as an artist. So if you come in and you're like, oh, well, I don't necessarily know if my work is up to par, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's kind of the point. I think you should apply with the current portfolio that you have and allow the cohort to do its job in getting you to grow as an artist. The first piece that I did here probably not that great. But as I've continued through my time here at the Cedars Union, I think that I've grown as an artist because we have so many resources that have allowed me to do so. So keep that in mind as well.
I have one more question for you guys, and it's what were any unexpected lessons during the cohort program?
Mhm.
Unexpected lessons?
Yeah.
Um, Shit, I don't know. It's like, I'd say a big lesson that I didn't. You walk in expecting to, and I think I've kind of hit on this already, but you walk in expecting to just do the art thing. And I guess like a really unexpected lesson that I think Catherine also hit on is that just like community building that you did not expect. And that's not a bad thing. Like I feel like that's a really good thing. It's just like, whoa, I didn't expect these people to become my best friends over the time span of 16 months, but we're actually about to move into a studio together and we didn't know each other 16 months ago. So life comes at you fast, right? I think these are unexpected lessons that you didn't know. And I think that like that's just kind of the beauty of a program like this is that you are able to just kind of meet some people and you learn from them and you grow with them. And the lesson is to always be, I guess, receptive and open to that. And I think you're gonna find yourself being very happy
I
at the end of
think,
it.
oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think I didn't realize how much I was going to be learning outside of just my art practice. I remember um, the first like couple of weeks that we were in the cohort, we were completely bombarded with events. It was exhausting and so much fun. And that's something that I think like prepare for or like have the mindset going into it is that you're going to learn like back end skills too on like how to sustain your practice through your network and yeah and like just be ready to consider that as part of your practice is like out on the field talking to people like going into professional spaces and being able to talk about your work so
Thank y'all both. The rest of the questions I think are ones that I can answer when we get to the secondary Q&A portion. So Kevin, Catherine, thank y'all for your time. Y'all are welcome to hang around in the chat if y'all want. But I'm gonna go on and start talking about CaFÉ, which is our application portal. Thank y'all both. Let me share my screen again for you guys. So we use a program called CaFÉ for applications. And if you're an artist working, you've probably used something like CaFÉ before, or you probably have used CaFÉ in the past before. It's a submission platform where you'll send in your materials, which for us, we require a few things. There are things like an artist statement and a bio, 5 images of your work. I'll talk more about what that can be in a second. And then your letter of intent and your CV. Those are your main things. Outside of that, there is some supplemental information, such as you will, and this answers the question that was in the chat, your studio preference. You will select whether you want one of the medium ones or the large ones. You'll also put a answer in about your level of involvement. So there are many ways to get involved with the Cedars Union. Those can be through our committees like the curatorial, the social committee, the critique committee. Um, but that can also just be like, oh, I'm interested in hosting workshops or programs, or these are the things that I'm interested in the community that I want to bring in. And then you'll also have a question about current studio access, which I'll get more into in a second. Outside of that, there's a series of identity-based questions. Those can be things like your income, your race, your gender. Those are questions that we use specifically just for grant writing purposes, and the jury does not consider them. They're separate, but they will be asked on the front end of the form, which you will see in just a second. When you're doing the application, all of your program or all of your materials need to be submitted through CaFÉ. We cannot take any materials through email. We can't take them on a thumb drive or anything like that. They have to go through the CaFÉ portal to make the jurying process easier for our list of jurors. We meet with the jurors and go over the qualifications or the needs of applicants and kind of what to think about as they do the jurying process. And we typically tell them that it's about a 70-30 rule. 70% of that is the strength of their portfolio, which means that you want really strong, well-documented imagery of your work. And the other 30% is going to be your community involvement. The Cedars Union is a really unique community space where you get to meet people, you get to share things, and we want to make sure you don't have to be the biggest social butterfly, but we want to make sure that people are taking advantage of the opportunity. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a second, but it's just good to know that it isn't just the quality of your work. There are other things. So if you find that your practice leans to being a little bit more socially involved, those are things that may come out in your letter of intent that are worth sharing. And then when the jury picks the applicants, they will rate them all 1 through 7, 7 being the strongest, and then it'll aggregate the scores together. It'll give us a list of everyone who applied, and then we take the top of that list, and then that is how we make our initial selections, which we will then interview. And the interviews are mostly to assess that they understand what the program is and to answer any questions they may have, while also making sure that their needs dovetail with the resources that we actually have. Following that, initial decisions will go out early July, and then the move-in is late August. You need to be, this answers another question that was in the chat. If you are going to apply for the cohort, you need to be present for the entire 18 months. A really important part of the cohort is its place within Dallas and North Texas as an arts community. So making sure that artists are here and they're supported is really important to what we do. So we're typically looking for people who intend to stay in the area, at least for the terms of the cohort. It's pretty common that people will use what they've accomplished during the cohort to apply to new opportunities that can take them elsewhere. Things like grad school, that is perfectly fine. But during the cohort, we hope that people are here for the entire 18 months. Okay. All right. Y'all can see my screen still? Okay. So I'm going to go through CaFÉ and just show you guys what it kind of looks like. To access our application, you need to go to the Cedars Union website, and you can either go up here to Artist Opportunities, Incubator Cohort, or you can go down to Learn More and Apply. Click Learn More and Apply. And then this page is a really, really useful resource. It has all of the amenities. It has the rates that you go through. It has a Q&A section. It has information on all the jurors. I recommend that if you're going to apply to this, that you go through the entire thing and give it a look through. But the most important thing on the top is the application link. So once you get to this page, you're going to go click here to apply, and that's going to take you to CaFÉ. You need to make an account through CaFÉ if you're going to do it. And the way CaFÉ typically works is you're going to need to make your profile, and then you make a submission for each work, and it allows you to drag and drop those things in. It'll kind of make sense in a second, but if you've used CaFÉ before, that's just a good refresher on how it works. More information that's on that same page we were just on is also here. Once you're ready, you're going to go to apply now, and then that's going to take you to the actual application. There's a quick disclaimer at the beginning. It just says that I agreed to be there during the jurying process because we do have to interview you. And then if you get selected, you're going to be in photos sometimes, and then sometimes your work is going to be in those photos. Or if we have something like an open house, this is just an agreement that you're okay with knowing that your work will be in photographs that are posted to our website and our social media. Agree? And this is the form. There is a $10 application fee. That is just to help cover administrative costs with CaFÉ. But if you are in a point of financial hardship and you need help, you just need to message me. I'll put my email on the screen at the end, but it's just taylor@cedarsunion.org. If the $10 application fee is something you cannot cover yourself, message us. We have ways of covering it for you. Our deadline is going to be the 12th at midnight. There's a little bit of a buffer in there, but we recommend that you get your application in by the 12th. And then this is going to be that initial form I talked about with all of the identity-based questions. Again, these are just for grant writing purposes for us on the back end. Danielle, is there anything you want to interject before I get into the information?
No, I just dropped our emails in the chat though, if y'all wanted them.
Thank you. Okay. So now we're on to the actual application form with CaFÉ. Things like your CV are required to apply. I'm moving to the side so I can see behind all the little screens, by the way. Um, your CV is required. It's a really good tell on how involved you are in your career. The CU is mainly made for people who are at that really important point where they either need the tools to advance or continue their career. So a CV isn't a primary tool assessed by the jury, but if it gets to the point where they're a little bit more curious about your career path, they may look at it as something that tells them like, oh, this person is pretty committed to what they're doing. So I highly recommend that you put a lot of work into making sure your CV is legible and clear and easy to read and has everything that you've done recently, especially things that are in the area. We also ask for a website or an Instagram. That's just in case, but the jury has been told to mostly assess the images that have been submitted through the application. Artist and bio statement are pretty straightforward. You've almost all written those before. You can either write a joint statement. I know some people, those things become one, or you can just put your artist statement and then your bio. They don't have to be one full statement. And then the letter of intent. Um, if you've written one of these before, you know how important they can be. A letter of intent isn't necessarily, I want to join the Cedars Union so that I can make this work, or I want to have a solo show by the end of the Cedars Union. A letter of intent is really good, a good opportunity for you to assess the resources that the organization has, your needs, and then how you will take those things and then in turn give back to the community. So when you write your letter of intent, assess what the Cedars Union has that will help your practice grow. Say you want to expand into working in different media and the programming and the other artists are an opportunity for you to learn and expand the materials you work in. That's a good place to say it, but then also assess the skills and the resources that you have as an artist. Say you are interested in doing curatorial projects. It's an opportunity to be like, I want to use the CU community as a source of artists to bring into these exhibitions, or I want to share my teaching experience with the community. I do publicly engage art and I want to engage with the community in the Cedars Union. These are all really important places to put these things in the letter of intent, especially because it weighs so heavily on the application scoring. And if you all have questions about the letter of intent, I'll answer them at the Q&A part. Um, the letter of intent is also where that question I mentioned earlier, which is, do you have a studio outside of your home, will come into play. So it is not a no-go if you already have a pre-existing studio. Many of our artists actually do have studios on their own. Either they work in the 10 district or something associated with their employment at a school. But if you have a studio other than the one that you will have at the Cedars Union, you need to let us know that you intend to still use your studio space at the CU. The CU studio is not a showroom. It's not a space for storage. It's a community center for where people can make art, and we want to make sure that people are using it for that, not just extra space that's really affordable. We want to make sure that they are actively engaged in the community and that their work is being created, at least in some capacity, in the Cedars Union. Following that, there are two other things. How do you want to be involved? And then how do you equitably support or um, how do you equitably support the community? This is a very short statement, and then these are just like ways that you can get involved in brief with the committees and leading programming. And then following that, we have our studio sizes. You'll select your primary, and then you select your secondary. If you just want a small one, you would just select the small one for both choices. We use this at the end to kind of Tetris everybody into the space and make sure that everyone has at least their primary choice of space if they need more. And then we'll go through and actually talk to people during the application or the interview process to make sure that they're getting the space that they need. Okay. This is that other thing I was talking about with CaFÉ that can be a little bit weird sometime. CaFÉ has you do something called a portfolio, and what you'll do is you'll upload work to your profile, and it's really annoying if you're only doing one application. But if you're applying to a lot of things, especially now if you're getting into a place where you're going to start doing that, it's really useful because what you'll do is you'll upload the image of your work here, and then when you're ready to apply for something, you just click the ones that you want. It's really, really useful. So this is, I guess I'm using my personal thing, so you'll have to look at my art. I'm sorry. But you'll select a work. You can also look at the information on the work. So it has the dimensions, it has the media, the year completed, and then this part right here um, is really important, the description. So if you have a work that is made using strange media or you feel like needs a little bit more context, say it's a still from a performance video, this is where you can go in and kind of make note of that and tell the jurors like, oh, hey, this is a still from this performance I did at the Nasher in 2022 where we did this. You can also include links to works if there's more context needed there. But it's a really important tool, and the jury will have access to all of this information right here. Things like primary discipline, art and public spaces, those things don't necessarily matter. And then dimensions and medium. Medium is really good because it gives the jury an idea of what your work looks like. They're told to kind of pull a diverse group of artists who are working in an array of media. That way we don't have like 20 painters or 20 photographers. We have what Dallas looks like, which is pretty media-wise diverse. Uh, so it's good to have that information. And then for the dimensions, this is important because it just gives them an idea. Like if, the work looks really big, but it's tiny, it gives them an idea of like technical skill, and a fuller image of what the artist is working in. So all of this information is also important. And it's cool because once it's in CaFÉ's portal, it's already in there. You don't have to go put it in again. And you just kind of click on the ones you want. So if I were applying, I would just click maybe these five, and it should gray out once I have five of them. No. Okay. But you select the five that it has you do. You can't do any more than that. It'll give you a little error message. And then you can also upload audio and video samples as well. Once you have everything in, you click save and continue. It brings you to the billing page, and then you submit it from there. And then your application should be on our end received. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back to the chat and start answering y'all's questions. Does anybody have a crazy burning question before I start reading the ones in the chats? One of the questions I have, how are the studio spaces assigned? So that's something I just touched on a second ago, which is you'll select it. And once we have a list of everything, we will kind of start piecemealing things together. So last year we realized that we had a lot of artists who wanted smaller studio spaces. So we were able to contact the artist and be like, hey, we actually ended up with a slightly smaller studio, or there's this larger one. Do you want me to bump you here? Do you want to be here? And typically that depends a lot on the budget of the artist. But you will select the one you want, and it is pretty typical that you will get what you request on the form. Will asks, what does the program offer for artists that aren't painters and sculptors? The shortest, simplest answer is it's a space that belongs to you. So your studio space is only for you to use. One of the things that I struggle with in my practice right now is whenever I am done working, I have to pick everything up and take it with me when I go somewhere or put it in my locker because I don't have a studio space. Having access to a studio at the Cedars Union means that that is your space that belongs to you. You can leave your stuff out. You can come and go as you need. It doesn't create this system where it's like, well, if I don't have 6 hours to work because I have to do setup and tear down, I'm not going to work. You can pop in, get the quick work done, move away. Outside of that physical space, there are other resources that you can use. We have the computer labs, we have the digital fabrication equipment. Some of our photographers rely heavily on using our space for photo shoots. Damn. If I have to close it again, I'll close it again and we'll rejoin. I'm really sorry about the time limit. Um, but like the Bodecker building is a resource for the artists where they can do photo shoots in there. Many of our photographers will do video projects or work with performers to do projects in the Bodecker or in the meeting room here. And then outside of that, the program offers people the community. So that's kind of what Catherine and Kev talked about a lot is they didn't expect really to make as many friends or connections with people working and making art in Dallas. So I think that's the most important thing in the end is the connections that you make through the program. Yvette, I saw that you had a question in the chat and Danielle gave a follow-up. I will get back to this one in a second. Somebody asked about how many applicants we receive. We get about 100. Got about 100 last year. We're expecting more. And we do, to answer Jeanette's question, we do demos on all of the equipment in the building. If you are, say, a person working on paper and you want to frame your work, we do framing workshops. We do monthly woodshop orientation. We do a lot of walkthroughs, and then we also can schedule one-on-one time so that you can get a walkthrough on a piece of equipment from a staff member. There isn't anything in the building that we don't know how to use in some capacity. That's all for the ones in the chat. Does anybody else have any questions for me out loud? Jeanette?
I was just seeing the images. I know that you said that the walls are kind of like I guess like a pegboard like type of system. Do those little like desks and things that you kind of put in come with the cohort? Like, are
Mhm.
those just like, I don't know, I guess I just wanted to know if certain types of materials are like rented or if they're just like free to use for any of the artists that are going to get a studio space.
That's a very good question. I'm going to pull up an image of a studio in the cohort. So this one right here with all the pink stuff, each studio comes with a single stool. It comes with a desk, and then depending on the studio size, there's an allotment of furniture that comes with it. But most of them get two shelves or cubbies, and then two smaller shelves in addition to the desk. And then each studio also comes with one of these. Trying to find right here. It's kind of hard to see. Oh, here you go, right here. One of these large tool chests so that you can store your materials in. And we also have lockers in the side of the building too. That's a good question. Also, if an artist comes to us and is like, hey, I don't have enough shelving stuff in my studio, not every artist is using all of their shelving, so sometimes it moves around. But if you ask Matt or I, we can usually find you some extra stuff. And if there isn't any extra, we'll usually just make you some. But yeah, a lot of the equipment that you may need in your studio, like say you have a specific work table, like Felicia Jordan, who was in the cohort, she's a metal worker. She has a workbench, and that was kind of more specific. So that was something that she brought herself. Archit, you have a question?
Yeah, um, I was wondering what's the situation for suspending sculptures in the Bodecker or in the annex? And like what would be the weight restrictions for that?
I can't tell you the weight restriction. In the annex, you can hang things in your studio, especially from the frame that puts the studio, that boxes the studio in. Like you can probably see in some of these that people have some stuff kind of hanging off. Maybe not in these studios, but the current cohort people are framing a lot of stuff off of their studios. Yeah, nothing on these. But you can hang from the metal frame that encompasses the studio. In terms of the Bodecker, there's pre-existing hardware in the building, and it kind of depends. It would be like a case by case thing. But in terms of installing outside of your studio, we typically ask people not to, just because it would be in the walkway.
Okay, so for the Bodecker, can we like put our own suspension points? Would that be something that's possible if we discuss it?
Editing the inside of the Bodecker it's case by case. So we
Okay.
would have to walk through, and we typically say when it comes to anything in the Bodecker, it has to be minimally destructive, just because it's a historic building and it's also a building that we're close to renovating. Again, there is a lot of pre-existing hardware, railings, piping, and things that you can work with for documentation. But once those things have been documented, we ask people to take them down.
Okay. Got it.
I did have a question. If there's any issues of bringing, let's say, like models, because sometimes I want to drive live models instead of like using reference. Is there any restrictions if you want to bring someone with you as a reference model?
That's a good question. So this is just good in general to know, but you can bring a friend with you into the CU. Sometimes people will just bring somebody to kind of co-work with them and sit next to them. Sometimes if it's a modeling situation, you can bring your models into the building. The rule is that they can't just access the building without you. And more so, they cannot use any of the equipment within the building either.
Thanks.
No problem.
I have a question related to that. Can you bring a model in for painting portraits from life into the Bodecker building? Like, are there windows that are facing north or have some consistent light or anything like that?
There are some spaces in the Bodecker where there is better lighting. The way the Bodecker works is you would message one of the staff members or use proximity, which is our reservation program. And whenever you do that, you'll select it, it'll ping us, and we'll reach out and be like, hey, what do you need? And then from there, we'll schedule time. There is space in the Bow, but for artists to use the Bodecker, it has to be within staff hours for something like that,
Okay,
which
great.
is Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5-ish.
Okay, thanks.
Of course. Um, There's another question about people commuting to Dallas from other areas, which Danielle answered in the chat. But yeah, somebody used to commute twice a week from Tyler, Texas, which is pretty substantial of a drive. We also have people who commute pretty frequently from Denton. I mean, I'm a staff member, but currently I commute up from Denton. And they seem to have, I mean, I see those artists here all the time. They make the most out of it. Sometimes people use it as their reason to eventually move to Dallas so that they can establish their career more substantially here because they need that kind of bridge and offering a space to continue making their work. Eva, I see your question is still getting some answers, but just to kind of wrap things up in terms of the questions that I got, the selection process, it takes about 2 months. You will know whether you got accepted on a first call in late July, and then move in is in early August, which means that a cohort finishes in, oh man, Danielle, do you know it off the top of your head? I can pull it up.
Yeah, it is running from September 1st to February 29th, 2028.
Yeah, a full 18 months. Thank you, Danielle. I will try to answer this question real fast for you, Yvette, but archival materials like library studies and stuff is assuming where I'm kind of guessing where this may be, or just working with like other people. Again, you can bring people in to talk to them in terms of like working with other materials like recycled paper and stuff. It kind of just depends on the needs of your practice in your studio. Those are things that we don't really have a lot of hand in, and a lot of people will work with weird things or more finicky things. Like Eliana Miranda works with natural dyes right now in her studio. So there are opportunities to continue experimenting and trying new things in the studio. But otherwise, guidance or things like that. We do have a friendship with the Dallas Public Library. There are other institutions in Dallas that we can always partner with. I'm sorry, it's going to kick us out in a minute. But it's kind of case by case depending on what you need. When it comes to conceptual development, there are always people to talk to, though. I'm going to close the chat and hop back in. I'm really sorry. And we normally don't use Zoom as staff. We use Teams, which explains why I don't have a membership to it anymore. But I do remember for some reason last year we were like, why do we have a Zoom membership? And now I'm remembering it was probably for this, Daniel. So,
Max, what?
so I am still here. I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have. I'm happy to hang around if you want to talk one-on-one about some questions. We have until 8. But otherwise, I think that was a majority of the questions that we had regarding the cohort program. I say this sometimes, depending on who I'm talking to, but I'm a staff member at the CU, which means that I don't partake in the cohort stuff. I structure it. I bring in people to help the cohort, but I'm a working artist. We all are. We kind of understand what artists need to make their practice. But whenever I was finishing grad school, I was actually in the process of applying to the cohort, and then I ended up working here. So to me, I see it as a really exceptional opportunity. And if I weren't working here, something I would probably want to be a part of as well. But otherwise, not to kick y'all out and bring y'all right back in. If you don't have any other questions, y'all can always shoot me an email. I'm going to put my email up on screen right now. It's in the chat too. You can message Danielle or I. Our emails are pretty easy to remember. It's just Taylor and Danielle at cedarsunion.com or .org. And if you need anything at all, just shoot us a quick call. We also have an in-person info session, which is happening on June 6th. So if you want to come look at the spaces, we'll be going over a lot of the same material. So you might not learn anything new there, but you might be able to get your eyes on the space if you've never been here before. So I highly recommend you come by if you haven't. Otherwise, I'll be here if y'all need anything. Thank y'all for coming in. It's nice to meet
Thank you,
y'all.
everyone. Nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Eileen, to answer your question, it's a soft deadline of June 12th, and then people have a little bit of extra time till the 14th if they don't finish their applications.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you. Max, you
I
good?
have a I have
Oh,
a
go ahead,
question.
Sonia.
I wasn't sure if you had said anything about if artists want to learn something, if that they can get support.
Mhm. What are you hoping to learn?
I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of more of just like an idea. But I just kind of wanted to see with just like how you have a lot of support and resources or like people coming in to kind of provide like professional development or lectures and stuff like that. I just wanted to know if that is something that
Mhm.
is also an option with like the support of like I guess the staff and I guess the people that are organizing the cohort.
Um, I think the answer in short is yes. There are tons of opportunities to learn in the cohort. I sometimes people will just be working in the space and be like, "What are you doing in your studio? Like, can you show me?" And then share it through there. There's our standardized programming, which is also a good way to learn how to do something. So if you like see that we're doing a printmaking workshop, that's a good opportunity to learn. The lectures are really good for entrepreneurial skills. The resource-based programs like meeting with Curtis or Julie for office hours are also really good learning skills. You're going to meet people in the community that are really good. You're going to learn how to do things like install your work. It's saying, not saying you need that, but if you were less familiar with doing exhibition installation, you'll learn that through the exhibiting opportunities that we have. So, in short, yeah, it is a great learning opportunity. There are many different ways, but they're often self-led. But if you ever come to staff and you're like, I'm looking for somebody who knows how to do like darning, I'd be like, I think I know somebody who does that, and then put you in touch with them. We have a really broad network of people, both makers and administrators. So if you wanted to be connected with them, we could definitely make it happen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for coming.
I had a question.
Uh-huh.
I guess a couple. I think I kind of know the answer to the first one. And maybe Kevin Catherine can chime in too. What's kind of more important at this stage? Is it showing your art or is it talking about your art? Then I've got a follow-up after.
For in terms of like where your career point is or being in the CU.
I guess at this like application phase, like
Mhm.
what is best?
Having the art is definitely the most important thing. Like having the documentation, the finished work, the cohesive body of work, I would say is where I would start. And then being able to write about it is also good. I mean, the jury isn't told to assess exhibition records solely, but they can kind of tell when things are being put together with like a holistic image, which typically will dovetail with exhibition opportunities, I believe. But Kevin Catherine may have a little bit more to say there. Mhm.
I'd say probably just like having the work. I mean, yeah, it's good to have a narrative surrounding the work that you have, but at the same time, uh, people are going to look at art before they read about it. So I think that it's important just to have that portfolio kind of in your back pocket, and then kind of as I mean, having something to go along with it, just so that they can have a narrative surrounding it, making sure that it's all good. Honestly, is probably going to be your best bet. So I would just put equal energy into both showing it and being able to talk about it because that's going to get you the best result.
I also think your artist statement is something that changes like multiple times a month, even. So just whatever you currently are thinking about while making your work is fine. My statement changed like a month into the cohort and I never changed it off the website, but hey, yeah.
Thank you. And then when it comes to writing a letter of intent, what are some good things to keep in mind there? I haven't written one. I can kind of do my best to, take my best guess, but anything in particular to keep in mind there?
I'll start. The organization that you're applying the thing to, it's really important that you know what they do and what they have. So like this is like the silliest example, but if you wrote like I'm excited to like be able to like put my head down at the CU and put a door up and have a place where people don't bother me. It's like, well, I'm not saying people bother you at the CU, but it's a communal space, you know. So it doesn't give a good idea that the person understands what the organization is. But we also have very specific tools. We have very specific connections with the community. You need to look at where the parts in your career or your practice are that need to grow. And those are what you're going to be like, I want to be a part of the community so that these things change. And in turn, I can offer the community this in terms of like my skills. So that's what I would do to start is look at what we have, look at what we can offer, and then see what you can offer back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
I'd
man.
also say just like being a little bit conscious about in your letter of intent, being cautious about like kind of like what your actual goal is and what you want to achieve from the program. So obviously like don't go in on your letter of intent being like, oh, I want to make, hella money. That's cool if you do, but like it's not gonna get you very far probably with the jurors because that kind of takes like the whole aspect of the program out. Like if you want to make money, that's great. But at the same time, it's like don't say that. So just like be very careful about like kind of the way that you are phrasing your letter of intent and being like super intentional about like kind of what you're saying there.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Max.
I got a question about the application part of the cohort. I've never written a diversity statement, and I am super confused on like what it is that you guys are exactly looking for.
That's just saying that like you understand like that Dallas is a very different area comprised of a bunch of different types of people and that you're in service of being supportive, an active member of the community, being somebody that is there to work with others, not necessarily against others or in your own self-interest. It's there's no set rules on what that needs to be, and the jury hasn't been told to assess it. So, it's just kind of like a place for you to explain like how you can work with other types of people in other different environments, community settings, and be an active member of a community.
Okay. So, should this be more of like what it is that I'm looking forward to doing or in the future, or more about what I have engaged in the past?
It's just like who you are.
Okay. Sweet.
Laura, I saw your message in the chat, which Danielle responded to, but yes, there are people on staff who can help you with the tools and the resources in the building if you need it. Sonia, Heather, Laura, Archit, Max, any of y'all have any questions for me? No? Well, cool. Well, thank y'all for being here. I'm going to hang around with Danielle for a minute, so just to ask her a few quick questions, but I'm really glad that y'all were able to join us. And if y'all have any questions, shoot us an email, okay? Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye, Daniel.